Another perfect row. Yep, it is another one perfect. And now do you know why did I bring this cute little fluffy panda and also I used my furry coat to cover my pillow. And I also wear my fluffy sweater. I kind of feel like it got fur on it. Because this is furry series for me. So I choose everything to be furry and also cute. Sometimes I even love to smell this cutie. Smell kind of like mint strawberry candy or gum. Okay, let's go and read this chapter 2 of this book. Chapter 5, Practicing. After school, I ran home from my bus stop. It was Mother's Day off from work. She was in the backyard playing with my baby brother named Ollie. Ollie is 10 months old. He cannot skip or play tag or color. So far, I'm not that satisfied with him. I ran out of the back door. Mother, I'm going to be a helper. I'm going to be a helper, I shout real cheery. I quick handed her my permission slip. Read this paper, hurry. It's from Mr. Scotsman, I said. You remember Mr. Scotsman, right? Mr. Scotsman used to be my cookie lady last year, but this year she branched out apparently, 'cause now she's the boss of a whole kitchen operation, I think. Mother read the permission slip. I bounced up and down very excited. See, Mother, see? Mr. Scotsman wants me to be her helper in the cafeteria tomorrow. And so all you have to do is sign that paper and I will be all set. I started back to the house. I go get you a pen. Mother hollered, hold on, to me. This really does sound like fun, Junie B, she said. But let's talk it over at dinner, okay? At dinner, you could tell Daddy and me about it. I took a big breath at her. But I don't want to talk it over dinner, Mother, I said. I want you to sign that paper right exactly now. Please, just sign it, okay? Mother smiled. Patient, Junie B, she said. Dinner just a few hours away. I'd like Daddy to be in on this too. I rolled my eyes way up to the sky, 'cause Daddy always has to be in on everything. Finally, I went back in the house and I walked around the kitchen, very bored. There's not anything to do in this stupid, dumb house, I grouched. Then, all of a sudden, I spotted my backpack sitting on the floor. That's when I remembered my plastic mitts. I put them in my backpack to carry them home from school. I hurried get them out of there, then I quick put them on and ran to the refrigerator. Now I can practice touching food, I said, real thrilled. I opened the door and started touching stuff. First, I touched some fruit and an avocado and a squishy tomato. Then I put my hand in the butter. Also some creamy cottage cheese. Whoa, these mitts make touching food enjoyable, I said. After I was done, I put the mitts in my pocket and I went to watch TV. Only I couldn't even pay attention that good, because I kept on thinking about being a helper, of course. My excitement got bigger and bigger. Then hooray, hooray! Daddy finally came home from work. It was time for dinner. As soon as I sat down, I told Daddy all about Mr. Scotsman. Then surprise! I put on my mitts and I waved my hand all around in the air. Look, Mother, look, Daddy, see what Mr. Scotsman gave me? These are real professional mitts from the actual cafeteria. I sat up straight and tall. Mitts do not spread dirty germs, I explained. And guess what else? I already know how to use these babies. After that, I jumped up and down from my table and I touched everyone's dinner. I touched Mother's meatloaf and Daddy's mashed potatoes and Ollie cream corn. I also put cream corn on Ollie's head. That was a very funny joke, I think, only no one even laughed. My mother took my mitts away. She said that it's not what mitts are for, young lady. At first, I thought I was in very big trouble, but more good news. My mother and Daddy tucked me in bed that night. They gave me back my permission slip, and hooray! I was signed. We're going to let you help in the kitchen, said Mother, but no more funny business with the mitts. Got it? Got it, I said. A helper just doesn't make things more difficult, Junie B, said Daddy. A helper makes things just easier, okay? Okay, I said. Mother made her eyes real serious. And a helper's not the boss, Junie B, she said. Maybe you just try repeating that one. A helper is not the boss. I repeated. A helper is not a boss, I said. A helper is not a boss. After that, Mother and Daddy looked calmer. They kissed me good night and turned off the light. Kiss on ear, not kiss on ear. I repeated one more time. A helper's not the boss, I said, and I closed my eyes and I went to sleep. Dream about I was a boss. What? Chapter 6, Boss of Lunch. I was the funnest dream I ever had. I looked exactly like Mr. Scotsman, except I had my own face. Also, I have my own apron and my own plastic mitts and my very own hairnet. I was a vision, I tell you. I worked my hardest in the kitchen. I washed all the carrots and I made all the hoagies. Plus also, I ate all the sugar cookies. Rude. After a while, Room 1 came to the kitchen with their trays. The children saw how hard I was working. They called me Boss of Lunch. They skipped around me in a happy circle. After that, they carried me all around on their shoulders. They did not participate. I waved at her when I went by, when a duck flew and chased her out of the room. Where does a duck come from? That morning, I woke up laughing in my pillow. And guess what else? At school, my day kept on getting better and better. Because I gave Mr. Scary my permission slip, and he let me go to the cafeteria at 10 o'clock a.m. And so I hardly even did much work. Mr. Scotsman was delighted to see me again. She said I could start helping her very soon, but she wanted to show me around the kitchen. It was the hugest kitchen I ever even saw. It was a kitchen a giant would have. Look at how big everything is, Mr. Scotsman, I said. Look at that big dishwasher over there. And look at those big refrigerators. And whoa, look at those big sinks. And that's big giant freezer. I kept on looking and I looked at the big can opener. And look at this big floor we're standing on. And look at these big walls. And that big light switch. And those big... Mr. Scotsman interrupted me. Okay, let's move on, shall we? She said. I'd like you to meet some of the other folks who work here, Junie B. After that, she took me over and introduced me to 6 grown-ups. I waved at those people kind of shy. They waved back. Plus also, they said, welcome. But the bestest part of all, after I meet all the people, Mr. Gutsman opened a big drawer, and she handed me a giant white apron. My mouth fell open at that huge thing. You mean I get to wear this, Mr. Gutsman? I said. I get to wear an apron just like yours? Wowie, wow, wow! This is my dream come true. Mr. Scotsman winkled at me. Well, you sure don't you want to mess up that pretty flowered dress of yours, do we? She said. After that, I pulled the apron over my head, and she tried to tie the straps around me. I looked down to the ground. The apron came down to my shoes, almost. I twirled and twirled around. Ooh, I love this apron, Mr. Scotsman, I said. The apron makes me feel like a princess. Mr. Scotsman said I have a good imagination. After that, I put on my mitts that she had given me, and I twirled some more. I have a whole complete outfit, partially. I said real happy. And then, what do you know? All of a sudden, Mr. Scotsman reached into her apron, and she pulled out a hairnet. A hairnet just for me. I put it on my head. Oh boy, thank you, Mr. Scotsman, thank you, I squealed. Then I zoomed to the oven and stared at myself in the glass. So this is how she looked after she dressed. Look at me, just look at me. I look like a real professional lunch maker, I said. After that, I stared at myself some more, and couldn't even stop. Chapter 7, Jobs. Pretty soon, Mr. Scotsman told me all about my jobs. You're going to have 3 fun jobs today, Junie B, she said. I think you're going to like all of them. She took me to a long counter where the children pushed their lunch trays, and she showed me where the napkins go. Your first job will be to keep napkins stacked up right here on the countertop. If a napkin piles start to run out, just reach under the counter and get some more, okay? Do you think you can do that for me, Junie B? I nodded real fast. Yes, I said. I know I can do that, Mr. Scotsman, because I'm already familiar with napkins. I smiled real proud. I use napkins at my very own house, I said. I use them to wipe my mouth after dinner, plus sometimes I use my sleeve. Mr. Scotsman looked funny at me. After that, she handed me a sponge and took me to the counter by the sinks. Okay, your second job will be keep this big counter wiped off, she said. You don't have to clean any big messes, Junie B. Just wipe up any little spills or crumbs you see. I grinned real big. Sponges are another job I'm good at, Mr. Scotsman, I said. Because one time in kindergarten, I practiced throwing sponges in my toilet. What? And I didn't even miss the pot, hardly. Mr. Gutsman's face went kind of pale. Oh, she said. Oh my. After that, Her voice sounded a little worried. Well, there's just one more job I need to tell you about, she said. Do you see a door over there? That's where the children come in the kitchen to get their lunches. Yes, I said. I see it. Well, when you're not busy with your other jobs, I'd like you to be our lunch greeter, she said. Do you know what a lunch greeter is, Junie B? A greeter smiles at people and say hello. Do you think you could do that? This time, I didn't answer right away, 'cause my job said my stomach feel jumpy inside. Yeah, only there are children who I don't even know in this school, Mr. Scotsman, I said, kind of shaky. And some of them are big kids, and big kids are not my favorite side. Mr. Scotsman did a chuckle. Don't worry, Junie B. I think you'll find there are lots of very nice big kids in this school, she said. Could you just give it a try, please? I shrugged my shoulders kind of weakish. I don't know. Maybe I could, I said. Mr. Gusman gave me a pat. That's the spirit, she said. And there's just one other thing we need to talk about before you get started. Then guess what? She'd reach under the counter, and she gave me another pair of mitts. I quick held up my hands for her to see, but I'm already wearing mitts. Mr. Gusman, see them? You already gave them to me yesterday. I know, but these are brand new ones, Junie B, she said. Around here, we change our plastic mitts quite often. That's how we keep from spreading germs. We're constantly washing our hands and changing our mitts. I scratched my head. No kidding, I said. Really? You mean I'm supposed to wash my hands plus wearing mitts? My, that's not of hygiene, isn't it? Mr. Scotsman did a teensy frown when he took me to the sink and she washed my hands real good. After they were dry, she put the new mitts on me. Whoa, these are the cleanest hand I ever saw, I said. After that, I skipped back to the counter and began stacking napkins. Pretty soon, the kitchen started getting smells in it. I sniffed the air. The smells are not delicious. P.U., I said kind of quiet. Mr. Scotsman looked over at me. I held my nose. I smell stinkle, I said. Mr. Gusman do not look happy. Holding your nose isn't a centenary, Junie B. Now you have to change your mitts again. I kept on holding my nose. Yes, but if I let go my nose, the stinkle will get in my nostrils, I explained, and that smell is not delightful. Mr. Scotsman looked annoyed at me. That you're smelling is your lunch today, Junie B, she said. We're baking tuna noodle casserole. We're going to serve it with carrots and peas. I made a sick face. Look, I said, I hate bees. A good thing I brought my lunch today, right, Mr. Gusman? At least now I get a decent meal. Mr. Scotsman still looked grumpy, and she came over and changed my mitts. After that, I stacked more napkins, tried to just breathe through my mouth. Chapter 8. Lunchtime. One more chapter, guys. Being a helper is not a breeze. After the lunch bell rang, big kids started to come into the kitchen. 2 of them pointed at my hairnet. They called me the name of Freakazoid. I felt very crumbling inside. I'm not even going to greet you, I said real quiet. After that, I tattletaled to Mr. Scotsman and she crouched at those boys. Plus also, she said I didn't have to greet people. Instead, she said, I could sponge the counter. I hurried over there my fastest, then sponge and sponge on until the big kids were gone. Pretty soon, I looked at the door again, and guess what? I saw my friends from room 1. I saw Herb and Leanie and Jose and Shirley and Roger. We're at the counter with the trays. I ran over them speedy quick. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Look at me. See me working in here? I'm being a helper. See? All of them smile and wave. Hi, Junie B. Hi, they said. I skip around in a circle. See my outfit? I'm real professional. Lunch maker. See? I just look like Mr. Scotsman. I show them my sponge. And look at this. I even have equipment. After that, I ran back to the sinks and showed the boys I wiped the counter. Can everyone see me over here? I asked. I'm the boss of this whole entire sponge area. After that, I zoomed to the napkins. Plus, also, I'm the boss of the napkins, I said. See how I stack them? If I keep up a good work, someday I will be the boss of this whole operation properly. Just then, May came in the door. She did a mean laugh. You're not a real lunch maker, Junie B. Junie Jones, she said. We're just letting you pretend, don't you what? All of a sudden, I felt steamy and bad inside, 'cause I'm sick and tired of that dumb girl. I stamped my foot real hard. Yes, I am too, a real lunch maker, I said. Can't you even see my outfit, May? If I am not a real lunch maker, then how I come wearing mitts and a hairnet, huh? May did not answer. I tell you why, sister, I said, 'cause I'm keeping hair and germs out of a tuna noodle stinkle. That's why. Behind me, I heard Mr. Gusman groan. I turned around to see her. Her face looked very sickish. I turned back to room 1. Her face looked sickish too. 501, all of them put their lunch trays back. I don't really feel that hungry anymore, said Herb, kind of quiet. Me neither, said Jose. I had a really big breakfast. Then, very slow, all the children backing out of the kitchen. Then I watched them from the door, went back all the way to our lunch table. Mr. Scarrow was waiting for them there. He talked to them a minute, and he came to the kitchen and talked to Mr. Gutsman. They whispered to each other for a real long time. Also, they keep looking at me and wouldn't even stop. My head got drops of sweaty on it. I wiped it off with my sponge. After that, Mr. Gutsman closed her eyes again. Then she walked to me very nice, and she took away my sponge, and she said my job was done. Chapter 9, Baloney. Monday. Dear First Grade Journal, Room 1 is still mad at me about Friday. After we went back to the room, Mr. Gutsman brought me a bologna sandwiches for the children who didn't eat. We're not a hit. I sat at my desk and I ate out of my new lunchbox. I had a tasty peanut butter and jelly sandwich, 'cause I brought lunch is better than bought lunch. And that is not even my fault. Some of the children watch me eat. They make growly faces at me. Today, Herbert is my only friend. Also, Leanie and Jose was being reasonable. I wish Friday never happened. From Junie B., first grader. I peeked my eyes at the clock. It was almost 2:15. Just one more hour before I could go home. I tried to make the clock go faster with my eyes. It did not actually work that good. Just then, there was a knock on our door. Mr. Scary answered. Why, hello, he said. Why, hello yourself, said a friendly voice. And guess what? It was Mr. Scotsman. She walked into the room with 2 boxes in her arms. My heart pounded and pounded to see that woman, 'cause what if she came to scold me? I slumped away down my seat so she couldn't see me. Mr. Gutsman set the boxes on Mr. Scary's desk. When she looked all around my room, I slumped my seat even farther. Only too bad for me, because Blabbermouth May pointed at me. Mr. Gutsman! Mr. Gutsman! She hollered. Junie Jones is trying to hide from you. She's sliding down in her chair so you can't see her, but I'm keeping track of her movements. After that, I slid all the way to the floor under my desk. I curled into a ball and hid my head. Pretty soon, I heard feet walking to my desk. I'm getting used to that sound. The feet stopped next to my chair. I opened one eye and peeked out. I saw the bottom of Mr. Gutsman's white apron. Junie B, said her voice, why are you sitting on the floor? I didn't move any muscles. Because maybe she would still go away plausibly. Junie B, said Mr. Gutsman again. I brought something for your class. You want to see what it is? I shook my head real fast. No, thank you, I said. I don't want to see it, and so you can be on your way now, please. I opened my other eye and looked at her feet. They kept on standing there, when all of a sudden I heard a real loud groan. And what do you know? That woman squatted right down next to me. I was shocked to see her. Mr. Gutsman, I said, what are you doing down here? Mr. Gutsman did not look comfortable. Please, Junie B, I need your help, she said. I brought cookies for your class today. There's no one up here to help me pass them out. I rolled my eyes way back in my head. 'Cause that's not even the truth, of course. Yes, there is, Mr. Gutsman, I said. There's lots of people up here to help you. Mr. Gutsman shook her head. No, you don't understand, she said. After that, she reached into a pocket and pulled out a pair of plastic mitts. I need a real helper, Junie B, she said. I need someone with experience. Mr. Gutsman smiled kind of painful. Please, she said, if we don't stand soon, I'm going to fall right on my keister and you never get me up. I did a teensy smile, 'cause that was a little joke, I believe. Finally, I crawled out from my desk and I helped Mr. Gutsman stand up. I guess I can help you pass out cookies, I said. I can, kind of quiet. But some of these children are very mad at me, you know. Mr. Gutsman held my hand. Yes, well, I think maybe I can fix that, she said. After that, me and her walked to the front of the room together. And Mr. Gutsman showed everyone the cookies. Sugar cookies, shouted the children. Thank you, Mr. Gutsman, thank you. Mr. Gutsman put her hand on my shoulders. Don't thank me, class, she said. Junie B. Jones is the one who reminded me to pay you a visit this year. She's the one you need to thank. For a second, no one said anything. When all of a sudden, Herb hollered out, Thank you, Junie B. Jones. And then all the children hollered, Thank you, too. I grinned real big, 'cause those words felt happy in my ears. After that, I hurried back to the sink and washed my hands, and quick put on my mitts and ran back. Mr. Gutsman gave me a thumbs up. Ready to go, helper? She said. Ready to go, I said back. And so when both of us pass out all the cookies together. I did a perfect job. So is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe someday I won't be the boss of lunch after all. Maybe someday I'll just be the boss of cookies instead. What? And because boss of cookies is the most delicious job I ever heard of. Plus also, I get to make all the cookie rules. And I have already thought of rule number 1. I wrote it in my journal so I won't forget it. Rule number 1. 1. The boss of cookie gets to have 5 sugar cookies all to herself. Can it just be 2 instead? P.S. Only ever eat them in front of the children. Never eat them in front of the children, cause that would be rude probably. P.S. again. Plus sometimes she can even eat 6. Ha! The end. I think this box of cookies is quite rude. She could just eat 2. That's more perfect. So I hope you guys, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope you're not sleeping to forget a little like and subscribe. Goodbye guys.